What's really behind this growing northern opposition to President Tinubu? Is it about failed promises, regional politics, or power recalibration ahead of 2027, sir?
Well, I think that first, I don't want us to see it as a northern thing, because it's pan-Nigerian. The opposition forces is pan-Nigerian, and so we don't want to look at it as a northern thing, by drawing, the ethnic line. But I think the point is that his policies are not satisfactory to all. It may be the way, the method of approaching those policies. You and I know that oil subsidy, for example, has been a crisis in this country. And for me, I've always believed that it's a mathematical fiction. It does not exist. And I think the event has proven that. Dangote recently told us that the actual consumption is 33 million liters, per day, which is very, illustrative. Then compare that to the number they were churning out, which was a huge fraud for the country. Now, if he says he was going to remove that subsidy, I thought that there ought to be what I call pre-policy steps. For example, dealing with the refineries. 4 refineries. Everybody knew, or even to this point, know what is wrong with the refinery. It's just sheer sabotage. Sheer sabotage. And people can pinpoint key individuals who are responsible for that. And so the state has become so irresponsible, unable to deal with those that are violating its sovereignty. That's the capacity of the state to maintain control over its territory, which I think is unfortunate, for our country. So now it took a Dangote intervention, a private sector intervention, to let Nigerians know that it is possible to supply, oil products across the country. So you have to have dealt with that before jumping into it. And you can see, even right now, the contradictions. The oil importers are struggling, to sabotage Dangote in the name of monopoly.
Yeah.
And we do know the significance. Elementary political economy taught us about monopoly, oligopoly, and all of that. Yeah. But in the Nigerian case, you have a Nigerian capitalist, intervention that is able not only to affect the Nigerian market, but the global market. Oil farms in Aberdeen, in Rotterdam, all of them, they are laying off workers because of Dangote intervention. Which for me is something that we ought to celebrate. And the only guy who gave an indication was Otedola, who said, let them go to hell with their tank farms, sabotaging the whole country.
But Prof, at one point in time during one of your presidential monologues, you had castigated the president with regards to adopting this Bretton Woods policy. What has changed?
When you talk about Bretton Woods policy, I was just trying to attack or respond to the policies one by one. We were just dealing with oil subsidy. The devaluation. I can tell you that devaluation is a policy that everybody knows comes from the World Bank. Yeah. It's part of the globalization, neoliberal, policy. Liberalize your economy, to devalue your currency and the rest of them. I could remember that under Jonathan administration, when Okonjo-Iweala was in charge of finance, I wrote a 2-page paper on devaluation. I was in the UK at that time. And Okonjo-Iweala responded to some of the measures that I enunciated in that paper. Whether I was responding to my paper, but I thought he read that paper. They made effort to revalue the Naira subsequently after that paper. Because look, even people like Joseph Stiglitz will tell you that the first step you take in dealing with your currency contradiction is what they call depreciation, not devaluation. Devaluation is attractive in highly productive economies where there is what you call economy of scale, like China. So that even when you bring down the value of your currency, you make up for the volume of productivity in terms of export. So, but my argument is that Nigeria is not exporting anything other than oil, and that single product is already denominated in dollar. So, what are you devaluing? What are you devaluing? So, those are some of the policies. The tax reform, for me, is not a bad policy, even though people try to attack it. It was like trying to win the Nigerian state from this over-reliance on oil,
Exactly.
oil earnings. You know, because if you look at all of it, even where the initial resistance was that they didn't read the policy very well. You know, it's beneficial to everybody. You know, so we don't have to be babies who are sucking what Ekwemadu call the bottle federalism. You feed from, you go to the center to suck the breast. That's the point at that level. So now the Naira was badly devalued, and it affected prices across board, you know, food items across board. And that was done in the context of a security crisis, that the dilemma that the country is in. Fulani herdsmen killing everywhere, and people are afraid to go to farms. You know, so that affects even productivity again, in such a way that the inflationary rate spiral for food, you know, went, you know, just up there. So those are some of the policies. Now, here is a government 2 years old in power. It has not filled, I'm not sure whether a quarter of the appointments that he ought to make. The Nigerian ambassadors, we don't even deal with career diplomats. We use ambassadorial position to compensate, you know, politicians. We've not done that. Even when the ex-while ambassador were there, Nigerian missions abroad are not able to pay even rents or maintain basic infrastructure within the embassies. So that tells you, you know, the crisis that we are in, you know, in the country. You know, so that is there, and there are people who were complaining about lopsided nature of appointments and the rest of them. You know, I don't quite agree, you know, with them on that level, because when it comes to appointment, if you even look at the appointment, you know, it's pan-Nigerian. The new SFG is a Fulani, the daughter of Bala Usman. The NSA is a Fulani. The defense minister, I think, is also a Fulani. So if you then have IG, you know, of the police, the Southwesterner, you have the army chief, the Southwesterner, it's allowed. It's allowed. When Jonathan was there, Jonathan appointed Easterners as army chiefs. Obasanjo balanced it by using middle betters as army chiefs. So you know how to arrange, the commander-in-chief knows how to arrange the security architecture of the country in ways that guarantee the security of government and security of the state.
Prof.
Yes.
You said this is not just a northern agitation. It's pan-African, or pan-Nigerian, so to speak.
Yes.
The North gave Tinubu over 60% of his total votes in 2023, if you recall. Yet, we are hearing more stronger vociferous words from leaders like Kwakwanso, Rabiu Kwakwanso, El Rufai and Babachi Lawal. Has something fundamentally shifted in that alliance, sir?
It depends on whether there was an alliance. Because you had All Progressive Congress, that was the party, that was the alliance.
Exactly.
And that was doing a transition from Buhari to Tinubu. And so they fought, you know, on the basis of the principle that power must come to the South.
Yeah.
And that has happened. Now, you see, hegemons are reluctant to give up the position of hegemony. And so, Tinubu's coming to the center has disrupted the stability of the hegemons from the north. And that is what they are fighting back. They are afraid that if Tinubu spent 8 years in power, that foundation will be completely eroded. And that is the fight back that you are saying. Unfortunately, the president is not helping matters, because instead of, you know, adopting populist policies and also using the best brains that the country can produce to legitimize his government, he's not doing that. He's surrounding himself with sycophants, you know, people who really cannot, you know, articulate, you know, real governance policy.
Was that the reason why you could call, I mean, for a reshufflement of his cabinet? In one of
yes, I've called for a reshuffling. I've done so twice of his cabinet. Bring the best brain. Even Financial Times of London also advised the same thing. Look, only 2 individuals made the difference under Jonathan. Okoje-Iweala, who knew how to deal with the Bretton Woods institution. The same man, turned around the glory of Obasanjo's administration, the writing off of Nigeria's debt, the Paris debt deal. You may not like it at that time, but Nigeria became zero, had zero indebtedness. It was Okoje-Iweala that pulled it through. I remember that time, Obasanjo addressed the nation. I call it second independence. That was possible. Obasanjo, Jonathan again brought the same woman. He rebased the national economy and became the most leading economy in Africa. South Africa, they didn't quite like that. They fought it and tried to contradict, the facts that we were now the number one economy in Africa. We lost all of that, reputation, all of that credit under the impolitics of Buhari administration. So that's it. Now you can't point to any person of substance. It's just as that we see in the administration. One dances regularly, So the real point is that you can bring in people. Okoje-Iweala, Adesina Akinwumi made the difference under Jonathan. These guys were performing. They knew what to do.
Now, Prof, the North is now flexing its muscles, so to say, considering the fact they have a huge landmass, population, and voting strength. Do you think this is a strategic warning or a real threat to Tinubu's re-election?
I think it's a real threat. It's a real threat. Initially, when I did the analysis for the Vanguard, newspaper, and I was saying that if power does not return, that power must return to the South in 2027. Which means that the South must spend 8 years in power. Like it or not, that is the written arrangement. Otherwise, you will only return instability to the country or deepen the current instability. Because the country is already destabilized by the activities of Fulani herdsmen across the country. And the bandits that the Buhari administration imported into the country in 2015. So they will only destabilize the country. Now, which therefore means that if you bring a southern candidate, a northern candidate to contest against Buhari, the country, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the country will be polarized. It will not be on the basis of issue, but on the basis of the repository of power. The South will vote on the basis of sentiments for Tinubu. It will not be about issue. We must understand the power structure of this country, that every section of the country has a claim to the leadership of this country. Which is why you can see the resistance against the bill in the National Assembly saying that the Oni and the Sultan are the co-chairman of the Traditional Council. Niger Delta has, Middle Belt has shut out, Easterners have shut out. So that tells you that's also the nature of power. So that power must remain in the South. So if they bring a Southern candidate, I don't see a Yoruba candidate or a Southwesterner coming to contest Tinubu's position at this point. The person will be a big spoiler. The thing is to help the administration to succeed, so that the image of the Yorubas as the leading elites in this country can be, retained. So if you then bring an Eastern candidate, don't forget what Buhari said. The dot on the map. The dot on the map. So they don't have the political structure.
The North or the East.
If you want to balkanize the South, they don't have the political structure to upset the Southwest. They don't. That's the truth. The person who is realistic about the power situation in the East is Professor Charles Oludo, who said you need to build the power base first at home and then reach out to other regions. That is the only way the East can take a shot at the presidency of this country.
Even with the Peter Obi?
Look, the goodwill of Peter Obi in 2023 has waned considerably.
We're going to get to that, but still on this, the Secretary of the Government of the Federation says that Tinubu has done more for the North than critics claim. Questions have been asked. Is this backed by actual data or is this just political messaging? The NSA, as well as the defense chief, also highlighted improved security in the North under Tinubu. On the ground, do you think northern communities are feeling this progress, sir? In democracy, the simple definition by the population, the understanding of the population, is that democracy is a government of jolly. And so if you then have a democratic system that is not producing what our politicians have dubbed the dividends of democracy, the people will feel alienated.
And that's why I talked about police policies. Look at the student loan. I'm one of the opponents of the student loan because I saw it operated in the UK as a student. I saw it as it operates in the US. You know, education is a social responsibility of every reasonable state. So to talk about loan, if you look at the way it is structured, it tells you that it will end up like Diffrey. Was it Diffrey? Under
Mamsa?
No, I think Diffrey under Babangida administration. There they were giving tractors, people to go and farm, and with the hope that they will pay back and the rest of them. This student loan, the NEL fund, will go the same way. The Nigerian students that are graduating, which jobs are they going into? How are they going to pay it back? So you see, you don't institute policy without thinking through it. You know, for example, the Tinubu pledged that he was going to expand the security forces.
Yeah.
If you Nigeria, given its population, approximately 220 or 30, million people, if you have a 2 million man army, it is not too much for the country. So you can actually recruit, build, maybe you call it National Guard, another layer of the security, and mop up the unemployed youth in the country. When you do that, you will see something, happening. We have not even exploited the agricultural potentials of this country. We are still looking at agriculture in terms of, the peasantry, system. But an agriculture that is systematized and mechanized will take even graduates from political science. We absorb them. We have extension services. Community relations are involved in that process. Distribution is a huge value chain, in that process. I think that's something that Makinde is doing, in your state, which I think can be replicated, on a national scale.
So, Prof, still on this growing discontent, especially from the north and other regions, the Arewa Consultative Forum accuses Tinubu of openly sidelining the north in budget priorities as well as key appointments. You pointed to this earlier on. And what impact will this have in 2027? And beyond that, some have also alluded that this isn't just about regional representation, and but some are saying rising poverty, inflation, and joblessness. Would you say that the northern political elite truly represented their people, or is this simply position for power?
The northern political elites have never represented the northern people. If you look at it, what they have always done is to play on a common code of acceptability. Religion. Religion, that's what they do. Because even the minorities in the north are oppressed. So they are not speaking for the northerners. They are speaking for the northern hegemonic elite who cannot do without being on the seat of power.
Finally, sir, what does this clash between the presidency and the north tell us about Nigeria's democracy? Are we moving towards issue-based politics, or are we still stuck in this ethnic and regional hostility, sir?
No, if you look at it very well, it's still power for power's sake. We are not discussing issues. We are not discussing how to transform the country. We should look at be looking at those things that bind us together as a people. Because statecraft is about, our nationhood is about, transformative statecraft, so that you can bring the people together. They begin to see themselves as one people. But when you begin to play on those primordial values, you are dividing the country. And if care is not taken, in the long run, the country will be balkanized.
Prof, away from the growing discontent with the Tinubu's administration, now we have a new coalition, so to speak, and it's being branded as an anti-Tinubu alliance. How will you categorize it politically, sir? Is it just a serious realignment or just a reunion of aggrieved political elites?
Whether you qualify it as aggrieved or a realignment, it's a realignment of forces. The unfortunate thing about the coalition is that it's made up of strange bedfellows. People with divergent ideologies. And so, which has been the bane of political party in Nigeria. We don't have parties that are ideologically compact, that you can really say this is where they stand. You have, for instance, somebody like El-Rufai in that coalition that was paying billions to bandits they imported from outside of this country to destabilize Nigeria. So what has it got to offer to our people? What has he got to offer? You have David Mark, who was part of those who annoyed June 12th and became a beneficiary at the level of the Senate presidency in that coalition. So what does he have to, what moral, credibility does he have to want to tell Nigerians this is why we need a realignment or a change the current holder of power at the center? So there are so many of them like that. Of course, there are those who are aggrieved, whichever way you look at it, and therefore want to take a pound of flesh from the incumbent, president. But I think that Nigerians ought to be looking beyond ADC, and be looking at, the strengthening of existing parties. Because we have up to about 19 political parties presently. Strengthen the existing ones and make them people-based at the end of the day. That, for me, is the way to go. ADC is one, it's welcomed, because, of course, it has come to douse, if for anything, the allegation that the incumbent president was moving Nigeria towards a one-party state, which, of course, I fundamentally disagree.
Earlier on, sir, you stated that Peter Obi's popularity back in 2023 has waned. And one clear motivation of this alliance is the fragmented opposition vote in 2023. Do you believe, sir, that an Atiku Obi alliance could have realistically defeated Tinubu then and can it in 2027, sir?
If you look at the vote tally, if power is a matter of mathematical equation,
yes,
they would have defeated the incumbent. If there was no split, in the PDP, they would have defeated, the incumbent. They would have, But again, power is not just about number. It's about structures. It's about alliances that you have built over the years. And that I have articulated in my forthcoming book in Pargrave Macmillan, The Political Power in Nigeria. So power is not just you go to election and vote. It goes beyond that. If I'm running to tomorrow, I may not need to campaign to you, because you know where I stand. You are not just knowing in the last few months, you've known since the early 80s where I stand. So all of those things combine to strengthen the position of contestants when it comes to power contestation. So I never believe that somebody who came into the fray within 8 months will clinch Nigerian presidency, given the multinational nature of this country, and given the disparities in terms of positions or positionality on key national issues.
Prof, money matters in Nigerian elections. With most of these figures now out of power and the APC controlling the federal purse, can this coalition realistically mobilize the financial muscle needed for 2027, sir?
Potentially, they have the financial muscle to match the incumbent, naira for naira. Potentially, that's why I use the word potentially. How many of them will be willing to gamble with their resources? That's another point. From all the feelers I get, they are serious, to kick out the incumbent in 2027. But it depends on what the incumbent does between now and 2027.
On zoning and power rotation, Atiku, you have not actually spoken about. I really love to hear your perspective on this. Appears poised to run again, but this time from a southern-backed platform. How do you think that sits with Nigeria's unwritten north-south rotation principle? And could it trigger internal rebellion within the...
I can tell you that it's dead on arrival. Atiku running for the presidency is dead on arrival. At worst, it will lead to deepening of the ethnic fault line of this country. It will lead to, because Buhari's administration, was a disaster for this country. And that is one of the problems that the incumbent is also suffering from, the backlash of those policies. Look at what the things that happened. Printing of currency, you destabilize the country, people died. Eventually, the policy itself did not see the light of the day. So many, missteps of that administration. So anybody that is saying, I can tell you that there are a lot of Northerners who believe in the unity of the country, that think that it is not time to talk about power going to the north in 2027.
If Atiku and Obi run together again, who leads?
Well, the question has been posed that Atiku wants to be president. Obi does not want to play a second fiddle to another person. So it therefore means that even the present understanding may also hit a dead end.
What does this coalition say about the state of Nigeria's opposition politics today? Are we witnessing a rebirth or a last-ditch effort to remain relevant?
The unfortunate thing in Nigerian politics is that Nigeria has never had a consistent opposition. Also partly because of military intervention in politics. So the opposition that had existed in Nigeria before now has always been from the civil society. In the 80s, it was the student movement, the National Association of Nigerian Students, as it then was, not the caricature that we have today. Then you then had ASU. You then had successive leadership in the Nigerian Labour Congress, Alichi Roman, Hassan Sobonu, and so many others. Yeah. So there was a coalescing of progressive forces in the country. So that was why we were able to challenge the military and even force their exit to the barracks. So the challenge for Nigeria is to build an enduring political party. If that enduring political party, I usually use the ANC as an example. ANC was formed in 1912. They fought the apartheid system, defeated the apartheid system, and formed the government post-apartheid. And that party is seen, despite the contradictions that are ongoing in terms of balkanization, EF, Konto Usizwe, exactly. Zuma, all of them, forming their own party. The party is still in power through a coalition. That speaks volume for party formation. So that is what we need to aim at. That's why I talked about strengthening the existing, political parties. Those parties can seek an ideological foundation or core on which to, build upon and strengthen their membership. People in Nigeria look at power from the point of view of capturing the presidency. No. What stopped the government from what the beauty of the Second Republic was that you had a chief of Bafemi Awolowo who was party UPN that was controlling a number of states, and the states were called progressive, states, not just a labeling but a policy. So it would be good for Nigeria to say that 4 oppositions control the 36 states of the country, and that the government at the center even needs a coalition to be able to form a majority on a number of issues. That would be better for Nigerian, polity.
On this video, you said a lot of things. You have analyzed a lot of things. You have also identified that Tinubu's policies are not working. Policies have failed. That's why a lot of people are angry. Northerners are aggrieved that the policies are not working. And what to do? What are the solutions? No solutions. Ask you, is it because of that the Northerners, the power should go back to the North? No, it shouldn't be. The South should complete their 8 years. Constitutionally, this is not constitutional that a president must complete 8 years in office. It is not constitutional. 4 years is constitutional that once you get into office as a governor, as a president, you spend 4 years. The remaining 4 years, the second term, depends on Nigeria. What you did in office within your first 4 years determines if you are going to be re-elected, if Nigerians are happy with you. Determines. But now, Nigerians are not happy. The Northerners are not happy. Nigerians are not happy. You have identified that the policies are not working. The devaluation of Naira, very wrong. We are not producing. We are not productive. We can't devalue Naira in the country that is so much or heavily dependent of importation that we are not producing. And the man went ahead and did that. It becomes a problem. Removal of subsidy, it becomes a problem. And now, you said the South should not come out again to contest against Tinubu. That would be a problem, just to disturb Tinubu's or to share vote with Tinubu. Again, the Southeast does not have political structure to be the president. So it is only the South who has the your Southwest who has the political structure to be the president. And the power should not go back to the North. Tinubu government has failed, according to you. Another South person, Southwest should not contest against President Tinubu. Southeast should not contest. What is the solution? We should leave it for Tinubu to just complete 8 years because other regions have done 8 years. Is that how it should be? No. So here is you see danger, and there's a solution, and you say no. We should allow it to continue so that it will take a lot of damage a lot of things, spoil a lot of things, possibly take a lot of lives. So there should be a solution. The solution shouldn't be allow this problem to continue. The solution is how to solve the problem. Looking for how to solve the problems, we should look for a competent person, right? Between the southeast and the south. By now, yeah, you can say not the south, not the north. The north has no business with the power for now if we truly want to be fair with one another. Do you understand? So with all of this, there should be a solution, there should be a way out. A way out is we need to look for a competent person. Except if Tinubu now, miracle, a rocket science, something happened overnight, Tinubu are able to deliver his promises within the remaining 2 years. You're able to change the face of the country. You're able to put smile on the faces of Nigerians. They will see reason to consider him for second term. Other than that, I don't see Tinubu being re-elected. He's a one-term president, just like one treatment they give to Jonathan is what they are going to give him. Yes, he has the capacity. Those ADC coalitions, they have the financial muscles. So that's why I said before my video, money is going to play a major role. It's going to be a lot of who has the capacity to make command to say this thing, stop it. You must stop it. Don't do this. You don't have to do it. If you do this, you get this. If you do this, you get this. That's 2027 presidential election. All of them, they are powerful one way or the other in their territory. Yes, the federal government has the control over all the security, but hey, 2027, you will know that a lot of people are ready to disagree with president command. Do you understand? You will know a lot of people, a lot of security agencies, they are ready to disagree. They are ready. Not be those people, the security from this thing, the military from the north. Now then, the military from the north. Now then. Anyways, I'm not going to go into that. What do you think about this? Please share this video and please subscribe for more.